Morticia, Vampira, and Elvira, the unholy trinity of women of darkness. These three femme fatales have captured the wicked imaginations and nefarious fantasies of many generations. And, like the chains they might use to restrain their victims, the stories of all three of these lecherous ladies are linked. It all began in 1938 in the visionary mind of New Yorker cartoonist Charles Addams. He brought to ink and paper a twisted collection of misfits known as the Addams Family. The matriarch was an aloof, tall, and beautiful creature in a curve-hugging, plunging black dress with jet black hair and mysterious eyes. She and the rest of the family enjoyed a dark and malevolent lifestyle, stalking around their creepy mansion and making nonchalant remarks such as, "May I borrow a cup of cyanide?" and "You forgot the Eye of Newt." By the 1950s, the Addams Family was a haunted household name. However, none of the characters in the cartoon actually had names of their own. Enter Finnish-American actress Maila Nurmi, who left Astoria, Oregon for a career in show business. The natural blonde worked as a cheesecake model and a showgirl alongside future burlesque star Lily St. Cyr. Maila appeared in a midnight show called Spook Scandals, where she was spotted by famous director Howard Hawks, who cast her in his film Dreadful Hollow. Unfortunately, the production was plagued with problems and never got off the ground. In 1953, Maila attended a Halloween masquerade in a costume inspired by the matriarch from Charles Addams's cartoons. In her stunning look, she caught the eye of TV producer Hunt Stromberg Jr., who was seeking an eccentric character to host a late-night show of newly syndicated classic horror movies. Maila got the job, and Vampira was born. Maila further developed the character of Vampira from the Charles Addams prototype by hyping up the sex appeal, believing sex and death to be a killer combination. She added in elements of bondage, like her impossibly tight corset, stiletto heels, and long red fingernails. She took additional influence for the character from the Dragon Lady from Terry and the Pirates, and the Evil Queen from Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The Vampira show premiered in 1954 and was an instant hit. Vampira began each show with a trance-like glide down a dark, misty hallway, followed by a blood-curdling scream. She would then introduce and mock that evening's film while reclining on a couch of skulls. Her ghoulish comedy included making martinis with eyeballs instead of olives and offering viewers epitaphs rather than autographs. Vampira ended each show by wishing her audience, "Bad dreams, darlings." Vampira became the vamp of the moment, making appearances on The Red Skelton Show, The Ed Sullivan Show, and many more. She rode around Los Angeles in a chauffeured 1932 Packard and ran for Night Mayor of Hollywood with the platform of Dead Issues. Maila had a long-running affair with War of the Worlds director Orson Welles, and upon first seeing her nude, he proclaimed, "Magnificent carcass." In 1955, Maila's close friend and Hollywood icon James Dean died in a car racing accident, and Vampira became embroiled in scandal, including a magazine expose accusing her of causing his death with black magic. Her link to the tragedy, along with several warnings from the FCC about her grotesque humor, caused KABC-TV to cancel the Vampira show after a successful run of only 1 year. Maila retained the rights to the character and continued to breathe life into Vampira. She had a brief run on a competing TV station. She appeared in 1959's Plan 9 from Outer Space, a kooky horror B-movie directed by Ed Wood, whom she met at a birthday party for Bela Lugosi Jr. Vampira was also a character in Tim Burton's 1994 biopic about the director, Ed Wood. Vampira was played by Burton's then wife, Lisa Marie. In 1959, Maila, as Vampira, performed as the live-action model for Maleficent in Disney's Sleeping Beauty, and you can certainly see Vampira in the iconic character's arched eyebrows, deep voice, and casual evilness. Vampira was the archetype for a new kind of celebrity, the horror host, and many would follow in her footsteps. In 1964, 10 years after Vampira lit up the night, ABC developed Charles Addams's cartoons into a new series. The Addams family was brought to life, and Charles Addams gave them all names. Morticia came from the Latin mortis, meaning death. The ethereal Carolyn Jones was cast in the role. Carolyn hailed from Amarillo, Texas, and had spent years in Hollywood developing serious acting chops. She regularly stole the show in zany supporting roles in many big-name movies, including House of Wax, The 7-Year Itch, and Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but had always longed to be a leading lady. She played love interests to Elvis and Frank Sinatra. She had been married to Charlie's Angels and Beverly Hills 90210 producer Aaron Spelling, but the couple had sadly parted. For 1957's bachelor party, Carolyn traded in her natural blonde locks, a dime a dozen among Hollywood starlets, for an exotic raven-haired look. She gained an Academy Award nomination for the performance. In 1964, Carolyn finally found a role seemingly custom-made for her, a kooky, zany character with a smart and wicked sense of humor who also happened to be a leading lady. Carolyn and the writers added a lot of flesh to the bones of the cartoon character. Although there is scant existing evidence that Vampira was an influence, it's hard to believe that she wasn't. This Morticia, like Vampira, was dripping with sex appeal, which was pretty subversive for primetime TV in the 1960s. She and her husband Gomez had a passionate relationship and were the first TV couple to imply that they had a sex life. Aside from driving her husband and the audience mad with desire, Morticia dabbled in art, gardening, the occult, and was a loving if offbeat mother to Wednesday and Pugsley. Carolyn loved the role and had fantastic chemistry with her leading man, John Aston, and kept little Lisa Loring in stitches between takes. The Addams Family was popular for 2 years, but couldn't compete with shows in color. In 1966, this version of the Addams Family met their demise. Luckily for fans of the oddball Addamses, they have lived on in syndication and in many other versions, both animated and flesh. In 1977, Carolyn Jones and the original cast reprised their roles in a made-for-TV movie, Halloween with the New Addams Family. Fast forward to 1981, and the world was in need of a new goth goddess. Local Los Angeles horror host Sinister Seymour had shuffled off the mortal coil, and producers wanted to bring back The Vampira Show. Maila Nurmi was briefly involved, but left the project due to artistic differences. Seeking new blood to fill the itty-bitty black dress, the director took a tip from a friend and went to check out Cassandra Peterson at the famed LA Improv Theater, The Groundlings. Her dippy Valley Girl character brought the house down. The director imagined a raven black wig over Cassandra's natural red tresses, and Elvira was born. Cassandra hails from Manhattan, Kansas, and performed as a showgirl in Las Vegas. There, she briefly dated Elvis. She was also a Bond girl with a small role in 1971's Diamonds Are Forever. Cassandra took the character of Vampira and turned it up to 11 with Elvira. She is over-the-top sexy with gigantic ratings and big 1980s bouffant hair. She has a California Valley Girl meets punk rocker attitude. Her dark body and sarcastic humor was perfect for the MTV generation. She is a true feminist hero, blatant about her desires, but not willing to let anyone take advantage of her. Like Vampira and other horror hosts before her, Elvira presented late-night monster movies in her show Elvira's Movie Macabre, or Movie Mac as she called it. While most horror hosts are a strictly local affair, Elvira was so endearing that her show was syndicated across the US and Canada for 7 years and had a home movie series. Elvira used her quick wits and sharp tongue to make fun of each evening's B-movie, and much like Vampira, she ended each show by wishing her audience unpleasant dreams. Elvira was the glamour ghoul of the 80s, launching comic books, action figures, Halloween costumes, beer commercials, and making many TV appearances, including The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. She was even spoofed on The Simpsons with the character Booberella. Her fame reached its zenith with the release of the 1988 feature film Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, in which she goes to a small town in New England to collect an inheritance from her late aunt, who happens to be a witch. There, she shakes up the locals so much that they attempt to burn her at the stake. Though it received mixed reviews and Razzie nominations, it remains a cult classic. Elvira continues to be a goth icon with the 2001 sequel, Elvira's Haunted Hills, a 2007 reality competition, The Search for the Next Elvira, a 2010 revamp of Elvira's Movie Macabre, and 2014's 13 Nights of Elvira. While Elvira was at the height of her popularity, it seemed the perfect time to bring another sexy goth goddess back from the dead. Morticia Addams sauntered onto the big screen in 1991's The Addams Family, this time portrayed by the glamorous and naturally raven-haired Anjelica Huston. Anjelica comes from a family of Hollywood royalty. She is the daughter of the Maltese Falcon and the Misfits director John Huston. She was California-born, but spent most of her childhood and education in Ireland and England. She had a successful modeling career throughout the late 60s and 70s, and had a tumultuous relationship with Jack Nicholson from 1973 to 1990. In 1980, she moved back to Hollywood and made a splash in the family business in The Postman Always Rings Twice. Anjelica became the third generation of her family to win an Academy Award for her performance in 1985's Prizzi's Honor. She captured many dark hearts with her fantastically evil turn as the Grand High Witch in The Witches, and a year later she beat out Cher to play the iconic Morticia. Anjelica took influence for her portrayal from watching Grey Gardens, the bizarre 1975 documentary about Jackie Kennedy's cousins, Big Edie and Little Edie, living in squalor in a decaying mansion. Anjelica's seductive eyes, poise, and deadpan delivery of hilariously macabre lines helped to make The Addams Family and its 1993 sequel, Addams Family Values, massive critical and box office hits. She had wonderful chemistry and a lot of choreography with her co-star Raul Julia, was an absolute Lamaze master, and an inspirational mother to Wednesday, Pugsley, and baby Pubert.